What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to Earthbound. I know we've only just dropped the original Earthbound profile, but you guys wanted to see the Resonator build so much, and you smashed the like button way above 50 likes. On top of that as well, at the end of the video, I'll also show you a very spicy combo thanks to Yugioh that basically allows you to utilize a core essence of Earthbound, including an Earthbound Immortal, to reduce your opponent's life points as low as 1800 after your first turn. So with everything out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content like this. So, with all of that, we're going to dive headfirst into the profile. I'm just going to blitz through the Earthbounds because it's pretty much staple. I feel that this should be the baseline ratio that you should be playing for all of these anyway. So you've got triple Stone Sweeper, triple of your Ground Keeper, and then double of your Line Walker. I've still stuck with the one whale for this one. Again, you can adapt these to any one that you prefer the most. It really is up to you, but the whale does give you the most option for burn damage. Unfortunately, there's no way of getting it to defense because it does need to be normal summoned correctly, so you do need to tribute 2 monsters in order to get it to the board throughout the combo, but it does give you a nice bit of defensive play once you get that complete. We are then also playing the one Greater Line Walker. Now this is actually really important in the deck because this is what gets you to your Earthbound Immortal while also reducing your opponents to 3000. Now it's really important that this card reduces your opponent's life points to 3000 specifically and doesn't burn your opponent for 5000 because it means you can still utilize its effect and reduce your opponent's life points to 3000 under Pot of Prosperity as well, because it's technically not inflicting damage, it's just reducing their life points to that point. Your Earthbound Immortal will only do half damage, which means it would normally do 1200 damage. It's only going to do 600 damage, so keep that in mind. If you are worried about that, you can just play a Law of Darkness if you want to. Then for the other Earthbound cards, we've got the one Earthbound Prison, and of course the one Harmonic Synchro Fusion. Technically not named an Earthbound card, but the fact that it's searchable via the Earthbound cards, it might as well be. You can play a second field spell in this, and there is part of the combo that you'll see at the end of the video where you can search out any field spell in your deck during your opponent's turn. So that gives you the ability to play a field spell that might be incredibly powerful against them, or you can play the other Earthbound field spell as well if you want to, but I kind of felt because we were only playing one Earthbound Immortal, you don't really need to use it. And then for the hand traps, again, staple lineup, change these as you see fit, same as the last one, so Ashes, Imperms and Nibs. The Nibs are flexible, you can cut them out completely, you can adapt them to drolls, it really just comes down to the local environment. You can make them Troll Tactic Talents, Droplets, you name it. And then carrying on, we are playing the Psy Reflector package still. This is actually really important for the combo because it allows you to get into a synchro play without using up your normal summon. And through your route of play, it also gives you access to other elements that you're going to need. And it can be very important with the Resonators as well. The best thing about the Assault engine, which is also what's so good about the the Resonator engine, is it allows you to adapt your levels. You can go into any Synchro monster you want when you've got the ability to go through like an 8 to a 9 to a 7 to whatever you need. For the Vision Heroes, Resonators, it's because I'm looking at Vision Resonator. I was like, Vision Heroes. We're going to play 2 Vision Resonator, 1 Synchron Resonator, and 1 Red Resonator. You can play multiples of the others if you want to, but the idea is we're also playing triple Resonator Call. So your Resonator Call can pretty much act as pseudo options to any of these. So you've got 4 options to Red, you've got 4 options to Synchron, and you've got 5 options to Vision. Not to mention adding a 6th option to Vision with the Crimson Gaia. Unfortunately, Vision is the only one that Crimson Gaia can search. So if you want to, you can just cut the Crimson Gaia completely and play 3 Vision Resonators. The best thing about these is as long as you control a level 5 or higher dark, you get to special summon it down for free, and it will ultimately search you out your Gaia. There are some other cards you could play because you do go through into your Red Dragon Archery monsters if you want to, but ultimately you don't need to. The Synchron Resonator is really nice because it allows you to loop back a Vision Resonator or a Red Resonator. And the Red Resonator is probably one of the better ones to start with because it gives you that ability to normal summon it. And ideally the one you're going to want to be special summoning off the back of that is going to be your Earthbound Immortal Groundkeeper, as that's the one that starts all of your Earthbound combos off. So that's the way you basically get an extra tuner on the board to kind of make your plays go that little bit further. It's entirely up to you on the Vision, the Resonator engine. You can cut them out completely if you want to. You'll see that from my previous build, what I did take out was the level 5 Supercron red layer. I also took out a second copy of the Harmonic Fusion, and then obviously I took out the Synchron engine as well. So they're your adaptive plays you can make if you want to. I do like this, but it's one of them ones that's, I wouldn't say it's a win more option, but it's a way that allows you to adapt an already established board. And what I mean by that is you still need to get to a Synchro in order to technically special summon down a Vision Resonator or a Synchron Resonator, and then it just allows you to go, okay, cool, I don't want to leave my board being an Earthbound Servant Geo. I actually want to adapt this and upgrade it and go into a Synchro level 9, which is really nice. So it gives you the ability to adapt some of your levels and kind of work with different Synchro options to you. For the generic draw cards, I've gone with Pot of Prosperity. Like I said, because of the Line Walker's ability to put your opponent's life points to 3,000 and not burn them for an X amount of damage, Pot of Prosperity doesn't really affect that part of it. It does unfortunately affect the Earthbound Immortal burn damage, but again, that's only going to happen during your opponent's, during your turn, and even then, leaving your opponent with what would be 2,400 life points rather than 18 is not the end of the world, because I'll show you a couple of cards that you can play, or that you do play, that you have the option to bring back from the graveyard during your opponent's turn. That's either going to burn your opponent for 800 damage for each monster destroyed by its effect, or it's going to burn them for half that monster's original, equal to that monster's original attack. So when you're trying to deal with 2,400 or 1,800, it's quite easy to do that and then finish the game off without your opponent really able to establish a board, which is quite nice. Cool by the Grave and instant fusions to protect you from certain hand traps. Obviously, this deck can struggle a little bit against Droll and Ash at the right time, so being able to play both of these can be very useful. And the instant fusion can be more useful than Cool by sometimes, because having that extra monster on the board with that extra level can be really important. 1 for 1, again, this is just more access to get into your Groundkeeper, because this is the most important Earthbound card, in my opinion anyway. And then Foolish Burial, because sometimes you won't be able to search out your Earthbound, you can actually send it to the graveyard. So there's a couple of different ways you can make it, especially if you can go through your Geo Griffin. It means that you're less reliant on certain factors of the combo, and you can actually get to a Geo Griffin that will allow you to bring that level 1 back and then trigger its effects and go off. So that's it for the entire main deck. Moving on to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going with 2 Earthbound Servant Geo Griffin. This is actually really, really important in this version, for the pure fact that this is the first Synchro you want to go to. And then on top of that, it gives you that quick effect to special summon an Earthbound monster from the graveyard into defense. Except itself, sadly. It does lock you into only being able to special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn Synchros or Fusions, but that's exactly what the whole deck is doing anyway. It also has the ability that if it's destroyed in your possession by an opponent's card, you get to destroy 1 card on the field and then inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each Earthbound monster with different names in the on the field or in the graveyard. So again, your end board is pretty much going to say to your opponent, right, you've got 1,800 life points, you need to get rid of my Geo Griffin without destroying it, you need to get rid of my Earthbound Immortal monster, and then you also need to get rid of whatever card I bring back from the graveyard, which will ultimately put you in a position of, if you summon from the extra deck, I'm going to destroy it and then burn you for 800. Or I'm going to be able to, if you destroy my Griffin, I'm going to be able to pop that card and then burn you for half the attack as well. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of really control your opponent's game state from that point on. The deck can still go second. It's not like a go first or lose. It's just obviously go first, you're going to be able to set up a much more defensive board. Go second, you're going to set up a bit more of an aggressive board as well. On top of that as well, what you've got to remember is your opponent cannot target or select your Earthbound Immortal as an attack target, which is really important because it means that they need to use a card effect to bounce this card, and then they need to use a card effect to bounce this card as well. Otherwise, this is just going to be able to attack directly the next turn and then near enough finish your opponent off. We're then playing, of course, the 1 Geo Gremlin. This isn't as important as the other Geo Gremlin, but or Greblina, to be exact, because it has an A at the end. But it's still really important because, again, it puts your opponent in a position where it's like, okay, during the main phase, I get a quick effect to target face-on monster my opponent controls, and they either destroy it or I'm going to gain life points. And then during the battle phase, it gives you a quick effect to basically fuse into your Servant Geo Grasher, which is your main big boss monster from the extra deck. So the other card that is going to help you alongside the Gremlina alongside is the Kraken. So you're going to go through both of these during the combo, but the idea is that both of these will be in your graveyard. So you've got the ability to revive either of them during your opponent's turn off of the back of the Geo Griffin. And when you do that, you have the ability of Kraken to search you out any field spell from the deck or graveyard to the hand. And the best thing about that, like I said, is if you're in a matchup that really does lose to a specific hand trap of the format, you can end up playing something like Zombie World, you can play something like Gravekeeper as well. So you've got kind of like loads of different options. Of course, it would be pretty funny back in the day if you could search out Mystic Mind. It's like, okay, cool, break my board, I'm going to Mystic Mind you, bring down a Earthbound Immortal and then attack directly the game. So So that's a really kind of cool option. When you're bringing either of these back, what you've got to kind of remember is this one is if a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck, except during the damage step, you get to destroy as many monsters your opponent controls as possible that was special summoned this turn. And if you do, inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each monster. So the thing about that is, if your opponent is, like, keep in mind, this is going to be in the graveyard. So if your opponent's not reading this, they're going to be in big, big trouble. But the idea will be, is at that moment in time, they're going to have 1,800 life points, you're going to have a Yugioh Griffin, you're going to have your Earthbound Immortal, and you still have 3 more cards to play with as well, so there can be more hand traps. So if they special summon a monster, normal summon a monster, and then they try and special summon another monster, and then you go, okay, cool, Yugioh Griffin, bring back the Kraken. The next point, let's say they go to SP Little Knight, okay? So they're going to SP Little Knight, and let's say they use 2 monsters that have both been special summoned to go into SP Little Knight. When they do that, they're going to trigger the Kraken. Now, obviously, they'll go Chain Link 1 SP Little Knight, target one of your cards, and you'll go, cool, Chain Link 2 of the Kraken to destroy SP Little Knight and the other special summon monster to burn you for 1,600. They will then be forced to activate the SP Little Knight effect to dodge. In order to do that, they'll need to banish the SP Little Knight, and then they would banish, ideally, the Kraken. So as you resolve that, the Kraken would be banished. It doesn't negate the effect, so Kraken would still resolve to destroy the other special summon monster. And then, of course, the SP Little Knight would resolve to banish the Yugioh Griffin. So you still burnt them for 800, and on top of that, you're still going to have your Earthbound Immortal on the board. So you're kind of putting your opponent to a position of, right, okay, they now need to choose what are they originally trying to banish? Probably the Earthbound Immortal would be the logical sense. And then when they activate the effect to bring one of your monsters back, or of the SP Little Knight, what are they going to want to banish to let you bring back? So, okay, let's banish the Yugioh Griffin. It's like, right, okay, cool. So you banish the Earthbound Immortal permanently, you banish the Yugioh Griffin to the end phase, you still have a 2,800 monster that you can leave and attack. Actually, I don't believe it comes back in defense, doesn't it? Yeah, it comes back in defense. So it comes back in defense. So you can bring back the Yugioh Kraken, it's still going to burn your opponent for at least 800, and you forced out that SP Little Knight. So you still have those 3 additional cards in the hand. You still put them down now at the current standpoint would be, quick maths, 1,000 life points. And then if they can't clear everything off, you've got your Yugioh Griffin that's going to come back. During your turn again, you've got the Yugioh Griffin quick effect to bring back the Kraken if it's in the graveyard, or you're going to be able to bring back your Gremlina from the graveyard as well. And then that's going to be enough to hopefully push you through the game. So that was a long explanation. I probably should have just shown you it in the combo anyway. But I just wanted to kind of give you some hypotheticals so you could see that this kind of end board would be pretty cool. You got Muddy Mud Dragon, which is quite important as well, and then you got your generic synchros that can help you defend your board. So you've got Dawn Dragster, you got Baron de Fleur, which can be very important off the back of a Resonator, because then if you really don't want to use your you don't want to leave your Yugioh Griffin on the board, or you choose to tribute off your Yugioh Griffin or whatever, you can just summon down a Resonator and then sink into a 10 of a Baron. Red Dragon Archfiend off of the back of the Scard. You don't have to play both of these, it's entirely up to you, but the idea is you can go into Scard off of your Harmonic Fusion or just generally Synchro into it, and then if it leaves the board, you get to bring out a Red Dragon Archfiend. So that's where it's kind of cool with the Resonators, is because in theory, what you could do is if you use your Harmonic Synchro Fusion and you go into a Scard Dragon, you can then special summon down a Vision Resonator, Synchro the Vision Resonator with the Scard Dragon to go into a Baron, and in doing so, you then trigger Scarred Effect to summon you out your Red Dragon Archfiend. And if you've got a Synchron Resonator, you special summon a Synchron Resonator, and you upgrade your Red Dragon Archfiend into a hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. You can also very easily play Bestial Dispatter in this, and that would be pretty cool when you're getting some of your Light and Darks banished, more so your Darks. And that would be even more effective if you were to play a Law of Darkness as well. I've got the one Shen Shen. I actually quite like the idea of this because, again, there'll be times where it's like, okay, cool. I've ended my, or I'm about to end my turn. My opponent is currently on 1,800 life points. I've got an Earthbound Immortal. I've also got the Yugioh Griffin on the board, but I've got a Synchron Resonator, and my opponent cannot play if their cards are being banished from the field. I'll special summon down a Synchron Resonator. I will set up a Shen Shen, and then I'll also be sitting on a Earthbound Immortal that can't be targeted for an attack. So I need to get rid of my Shen Shen first, and it's going to constantly keep banishing their stuff. So it just gives you more options. You don't have to play it, of course, but I'm just showing you the variety that you have available to you. And then the last 2 cards is the 1 Millenniumizer Strict off the back of the Instant Fusion. And I still like the idea that I can actually make this very easily. Because I'm still playing Mud Dragon, it's like, okay, well, if I don't want to use it to go into the Gremlina because I've got other ways of doing it, I can just go into a Grepher Dragon Overlord. I can get through it through additional extensions and everything else. So being able to sit on this as another nice Omni Negate can be pretty nice. Now, I know it's obviously a negation for a normal spell, normal trap, or a monster effect, but it pretty much covers all avenues in my opinion. So So that's it for all of the main decks. You can also go for Dragoon here if you wanted to, but you would need another Dragon on the board, which does get a little bit dicey. And it's basically the same thing, just a little bit better on the Omni Negate. You're not going to get the burn damage, so what does it matter? That being said, if you could actually get the burn damage in this deck off the back of Dragoon, lol, it would pretty much be game. Anyway, that's it for the profile. I'm now going to zoom out, reset, and show you this awesome combo. Here is the 2-card combo. You do unfortunately specifically need E-Telly and Sweeper, as because both of these have certain routes. So your E-Telly allows you to maintain your normal summon, which you will need, and your Sweeper allows you to have an additional monster you'll be able to get on the board through the back of your Servant Yugioh Griffin. You could also substitute either of the routes of these for 1-for-1, but you would need an additional discard, mainly a substitute for the Psy Reflector route, because still get you the same outcome while maintaining your normal summon. So let's take you through the combo. We're going to start off with the E-Telly. E-Telly will special summon you out your Psy Reflector, and you're going to use Psy Reflector's effect to add you Assault Beast. You'll discard the Assault Beast in order to add an Assault Mode Activate, and then you'll be able to use the Psy Reflector's effect in order to reveal this to bring back your Assault Beast. At this point, you can manipulate the level of increasing it between 1 and 4. So you're going to want to make this a level 7. And the reason you're going to want to do that is because you can synchro both of these together to go into your Yugioh Griffin. Part 1 complete. Then you're going to start off by discarding your Prisoner Stone Sweeper, and it's going to allow you to add your Groundkeeper. You're going to normal summon the Groundkeeper and trigger its effect to special summon out the Prisoner Linewalker, and Linewalker's effect is going to trigger to get you the Harmonic Synchro Fusion. You're now going to want to use your Yugioh Griffin's effect to bring back your Stone Sweeper, which is why it's important that you need to open up the Stone Sweeper. You're now going to activate the Harmonic Synchro Fusion. In doing so, you're going to use your level 5 of your Stone Sweeper and your level 1 of the Groundkeeper in order to produce a Earthbound Servant Yugioh Kraken, because it requires 2 Earthbound monsters, and your Muddy Mud Dragon, which was obviously a 5 and a 1. At this point here, you can trigger your Earthbound Servant Yugioh Kraken to add you any field spell from the deck or graveyard to your hand, and you're going to want to add your Earthbound Prison, because you're going to want that additional normal summon of an Earthbound monster to give you your Earthbound. You're then going to use your Muddy Mud Dragon effect to fuse itself with your Linewalker to go into your Yugioh Gremlina, and this of course requires an Earthbound monster and a Dark monster, which is exactly what Mud Dragon is. On the summon of this, it allows you to add an Earthbound monster from the deck to your hand, and you're going to be able to add your Earthbound Greater Linewalker. Now, the Earthbound Greater Linewalker requires you to have a Synchro monster on the field and a Synchro monster in the graveyard, which you now do. So you can special summon it down for pretty much free. And in doing so, you now have the ability, if it is special summoned, you get to add an Earthbound Immortal monster from the deck or graveyard to the hand. You're now going to activate the Earthbound Prison. This is going to allow you to have that additional normal summon. And what you're going to want to do here is you're going to want to tribute off your Gremlin and your Kraken in order to summon it down. Again, unfortunately, it doesn't special summon it. It does normal summon it, so it has to go in attack. In doing so, you'll be able to trigger off your Linewalker's effect. And at this point, if an Earthbound Immortal monster is normal summoned while this monster is on the field, you get to make your opponent's life points 3,000. Very, very nice. On top of that, you can now use the Whales effect, that once per turn you get to inflict damage equal to half this card's defense to your opponent, and if you do, this card cannot conduct the battle cannot attack this turn. Now, I'm not sure you can actually do this turn 0. I've had like some conflicting information. It's like, okay, cool, you can't do it because you can't attack this turn. It's turn 0, and I've had people say you can do it. Just look at Soul Charge kind of thing. Either way, whether you can do it or not, your opponent is currently on 3,000 life points. If they're not, they're down to 1,800. They still need to kind of get rid of this board here, and you still maintain 3 additional cards in the hand that can help you extend that little bit further. Like if any of these are a Resonator, you can special summon it down, and then you can synchro off your Linewalker with that level 2 and go straight into a nice Baron de Fleur to add you an additional line of protection. On top of that as well, when you pass your opponent's turn during the main phase, or any point really, you have a quick effect to your Yugioh Griffin to either add back your Yugioh Kraken, and like I already mentioned during the profile, this has the ability that if your opponent's special summoned from the extra deck, you get to destroy as many monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned this turn and burn them for 800 each, as well as search you out any field spell. Or you can go for the Gremlina, and when this is special summoned again, you get to add an Earthbound monster, so you have follow-up for the next turn, which can ultimately lead you back to your combo of the form of getting your Groundkeeper into your Linewalker. And then Lion Walker will get you back in a harmonic synchro fusion, so you're good to go again. Then on top of that as well, if a monster or monsters your opponent controls is destroyed by an Earthbound card, except during the damage step, you get to target one of those destroyed monsters and inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. So if they get rid of the Griffin will give you the ability to pop a card, and on top of that, the Gremlin will then pretty much burn them out for the remainder of their life points. So you've got a couple of different options here. It's nice that you still end the board with 3 monsters, and 3 monsters that are pretty beefy, 29, 25, and 29. This one can't be targeted by attacks, and then when you're going to be able to bring back your Yugioh Kraken, or you're going to be able to bring back your Gremlina, it then just gives you more cards your opponent is going to need to deal with before they can get to the Immortal, or they need to get rid of this through a card effect rather than being able to target for an attack. And you still have your free cast to crack back on. Not to mention, if you do search back your combo, you're also threatening your 1-card starter in order to get you back into your extra deck. So pretty straightforward and simple on that one. I really do enjoy the way the Earthbounds are coming together. I am still fully aware that the Runic version is a very good version, because the idea is that you basically just keep skipping your battle phase and just keep burning your opponent. It's like, okay, cool, is what it is. But I do like the different variants you can play with this deck and what it can kind of offer. I know a lot of people are using it as an engine, but I do also quite like the idea of trying to maintain the essence of an Earthbound-esque deck, while also maintaining the whole 5Ds era feeling with Resonators and Synchrons in the previous build and everything else in between. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. For now, as absolutely always, like, comment, subscribe, share, get the video above 50 likes just to show your appreciation to Earthbounds. For now, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.